All right, welcome back everyone to the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. It's weather for weather geeks, but even if you're not a geek, I think you'll find the information useful in these videos. Certainly have more time in videos like this than I have on TV to talk about all the things I want to talk about, which in this kind of pattern, I've got a lot to say about snow and cold and wind chills and everything else that's going on. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it. Today, the third day of January, is what we call perihelion. What is that? Well, that's the Earth's closest point to the sun as we make our trip around the star each year. It's not a perfect circle. Sometimes we're a little bit closer to the sun and a little bit farther away. It's a little counterintuitive to some people that we'd actually be at our closest point to the sun in the dead of winter. But of course, it's the dead of winter in the northern hemisphere. It's getting into the middle of summer in the southern hemisphere. The distance to the sun really doesn't have anything to do with our seasons. Of course, it's the tilt of the Earth relative to the sun, and at this time of the year, the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun. We're about 3.1 million miles closer to the sun than we are at aphelion, which happens around the 4th of July every year. So a little fun fact for you there, a little astronomy. Today was our warmest day since Christmas, 22. That goes to show you what kind of pattern we've been in, that 22 is like a nice day. We had 22 and some sunshine today, and the wind wasn't especially strong, so it was a halfway decent day. Before we get to our local weather, I want to talk a little bit about this big storm that's getting, of course, a lot of national press, hearing a lot of headlines, calling it a bomb cyclone and all sorts of other fun jargon that's being thrown out there. This is a big nor'easter, essentially, that's coming up the East Coast. It's intensifying rapidly. You can really see that on the water vapor imagery, this disturbance pivoting down and really making this thing pop. And this is going to be really impressive on the satellite overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. We've got these nice high-res GOES 16 images now that give us great views. Whether we're looking at water vapor or infrared satellites or visible satellites, here's a look at the radar and satellite composite over the last 12 hours. This morning was a pretty remarkable morning. Let me stop the animation this morning. In northern Florida, around Jacksonville and over towards Savannah and up into Charleston, South Carolina, snow and ice. In some places in southeast Georgia, it's been since like the late 80s since they've had measurable snow. And for the first time in almost 30 years, some of these places had measurable snow earlier on today. Now this is leaving the deep south and getting set to impact parts of the mid-Atlantic region. You know, it's not every day you see blizzard warnings for Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. They're under a blizzard warning there, and actually these blizzard warnings extend through most of the beaches of Delaware, Maryland, up the Jersey Shore, Long Island, Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, and up into the Boston area as well, and actually up into Maine. So blizzard warning stretch all the way from Maine to Virginia Beach this evening. And they're going to get a lot of snow. Now, the most important thing for, especially New England, it's going to be the wind. With the combination of the wind and the snow. You know, to get a blizzard, the definition of a blizzard really doesn't have anything to do with the amount of snow. It's the wind and the visibility. And if you get strong enough winds and low enough visibility for a few consecutive hours, it's technically a blizzard. And so while some places, yes, are going to get probably a foot or so worth of snow, even in places that only get a few inches of snow, in parts of New England and down the coast, the wind will be just howling. The visibility will be near zero at times. And so really, really tricky weather over the next 12 to 18 hours there. All right, back here at home. We had some snow showing up on the radar for a time this afternoon, but none of this was reaching the ground, really. It's what we call virga. Of course, the air is very dry here down at the ground. Everything I touch, I zap. Relative humidity inside your house, if you're not running a humidifier, it's probably about 5% right now. So the air is very dry, and so it's having a hard time reaching the ground. Here's the next Arctic attack moving out of Canada, coming down into the U.S. This is heading our way for tomorrow and into tomorrow night. Let's talk wind chills. Now, we're already seeing, of course, a lot of school adjustments for tomorrow. You know, it's not necessarily because it's going to be hideous outside first thing in the morning. It's actually going to be warmer at daybreak tomorrow than it was this morning. But overall, tomorrow is going to be a much colder day. As the wind picks up, it's really going to get pretty nasty tomorrow. So daybreak wind chills may be close to zero, but later on in the day, the wind chills drop well below zero, and the wind starts to howl, and the temperature starts to drop. We'll only see temperatures rise a few degrees tomorrow, starting the day around 8. Our high water mark may be about 12. That's about it. And then, oh boy, you know, we haven't seen this kind of stuff in a long time, a few years really. With temperatures dropping below zero Thursday night, Friday morning, wind chills probably in the neighborhood of 20 below zero. for daybreak on Friday. Not much of a recovery Friday afternoon in the teens, below zero for those wind chills, and then we'll be right back to about 20 or so below zero for wind chill Saturday morning. Air temperatures, once again, 5, 6, maybe locally 7 degrees below zero as Saturday begins. Saturday afternoon, we climb up into the single digits above zero, but the wind chills stay well below zero. I came up with this graphic last night. When we're talking about wind chills, our body temperature is 98, 99 degrees for most people, and that creates this thin but important little protective insulating layer around our bodies. And when the wind is calm, that kind of hangs with us. But when we start to see wind and you have exposed skin, this is when we start talking about the wind chill, because that protective layer gets stripped away, and then you don't have anything really protecting your exposed skin. So that creates, in some cases, a dangerous situation, particularly when we see wind chills as cold as they're going to be tomorrow night, Friday morning, and again, Friday night, Saturday morning. Now, what about snow over the next 24 hours? We're going to start to see the lake effect machine cranking up. Now, the ice formation is really accelerating on Lake Erie, but there's still enough open water that we'll see some lake effect flurries and occasional snow showers tomorrow, especially, I think, as we get into the afternoon and the evening. In a typical lake effect setup like this, it's random, and it's one of those situations. Look at the temperatures tomorrow. Road treatment's not going to work very well with it being this cold. Every flake can stick to things, and so even if you get just a dusting at times tomorrow and tomorrow night, surfaces can get slick. That includes the roads, sidewalks, parking lots, on and on. And it may be easy to brush this stuff off your car, but it's no fun to drive in it. And we've seen this already several times this winter, like we do most winters. Relatively small amounts of snow sometimes cause the biggest problems. Because, we're not going to get 6 to 12 inches of snow, I'll go ahead and travel. Most people carry on with their business, which means people are out on the roads, and it just takes a little dusting of snow to cause, unfortunately, some accidents and some problems sometimes. And I think we're going to see some of that tomorrow night, and into the day on Friday. Friday, most of this will be concentrated up in Mercer and Trumbull counties. You even see the sun trying to peek out in Mahoning and Columbiana. But again, if you get under a flurry or a squall all the way through Friday, even if your accumulations are pretty minor, you could certainly see some tricky travel. All right, as far as actual numbers, and again, we don't want to focus too much on this, no surprise, Geauga County will do well, Ashtabula County, Crawford County, Erie County, PA. All these places will get at least half a foot, maybe even 8 or so inches worth of snow. Locally, accumulations will be pretty modest. I think we're looking at an inch to locally 2 or 3 in a lot of places. This counts Thursday through Friday. South of I-80, most of this is tomorrow and tomorrow night. Friday, most of it's concentrated north of I-80. But, again, these aren't the biggest amounts in the world, but it won't take much to cause some slick travel. If someone gets 3, 4, 5 inches, it's probably the usual places, Kinsman, and heading over towards Mesopotamia, over towards Green Village across the state line, over into northern Mercer County in PA. All right, impacts, big time weather impacts over the next couple of days. And it's not just the snow, of course, it's the wind and the temperatures and the wind chills. Those wind chills will be downright dangerous by Friday morning, as cold as 20 below or so, only recovering into the teens below zero by Friday afternoon. Wind gusts 20 to 25 and perhaps occasional gusts up to 30 miles per hour. This will be a very impactful couple of days when it comes to our local weather. A wallop of wind and cold accompanied by relatively modest amounts of snow, but still can be impactful, those snow showers and flurries. All right, we're going to break out of the deep freeze starting late in the weekend. Here's a look at the weekend on the GFS model. Maybe a leftover flurry into Saturday, no big deal. By Sunday, we're dry, and with a southwesterly wind developing, let me go back to Sunday. We're going to get into a southwesterly wind here on Sunday, and that's going to send temperatures into the mid-20s by the afternoon. Hey, what a heat wave, huh? But that's not bad considering we're going to start Sunday morning around 7 below. So temperatures will rise a good at least 30 degrees on Sunday ahead of the next system. Now, the next system is likely to bring us some snow Sunday night. Do I think it's much? No. Probably a 1 to 3 inch kind of a deal. Maybe just enough to make things slick Monday morning. Monday during the day, the GFS model tries to keep most of our precipitation in the frozen form. Wouldn't be surprised, though, if we had some sleet mixed in. I wouldn't even be surprised if we saw a brief change over to rain at some point on Monday. Kind of a sloppy day coming up on Monday, but we'll get above freezing for the first time in forever coming up on Monday. And then a fresh batch of cold air comes behind this, but it's not the kind of cold that we're dealing with this week. Longer range, I posted this earlier on today. The cold will be offset by some more tolerable temperatures next week. It's going to warm up occasionally, it's going to get cold occasionally, but watch what happens as we go into the longer range here on the European model. A true January thaw is advertised in about 2 weeks across our region, across a lot of the lower 48 states. Look at all these warm anomalies, differences from average, in other words. You see all these warm colors coming up in 2 weeks, around the 16th, 17th, 18th. We could be in for a real nice thaw. And this is just one model, but it's supported by a lot of the other long-range modeling. So something to look forward to in the longer range, if that's the right idea, and I suspect it is. We have a nice, better, warmer pattern coming by mid-January. But in the meantime, the next few days, very serious weather-wise. Take care of the pets. It's been cold. The pets should not have been out over the last few days, and they really shouldn't be out over the next few days. The kind of cold we haven't seen in about 3 years here in Northeast Ohio and in Western PA. All right, I've rambled long enough. I'll have more updates on social media this evening. And, of course, tomorrow, as the snow showers get underway, I'll be chiming in from time to time in the morning, and then I'll be in on 21 News at 6 and 11 this evening, and again tomorrow as well.